So, how do you deal with teenagers? These annoying little creatures who were once the apple of your eyes and have now turned into these crazy, obstinate monsters of little freaks who do not listen to you, who do not pay attention to anything that you say, anything that you mean, who do not, you know, respond in the same emotional tone as you do. How do you deal with these teenagers? Um, it is okay for us to realize that, yeah, teenagers are going through a difficult phase. A thousand emotions are going inside their head. They're feeling a lot of things. They're considering a lot of things, and they're learning obviously constantly. But then, how do you deal with teenagers as a parent? And I suppose teenage is probably one of those difficult phases of a child's life, which is often marred with with constant fights and constant back and forth between the parent and the child itself. And what most parents, I think, don't realize is that teenagers are not devilish people. I mean, if I were to ask this question to Google, and if I were to actually Google something on the internet, or if I were to look for something on YouTube, there would be 1,000 videos that would often say, yeah, teenagers are like this, so they're really horrible people. They're not supposed to be dealt with. They're like those team members who are just there to be a pain in your life. I'd say that is not the case. Teenage is a beautiful phase. These kids are learning so much. They're picking things from the surroundings. They're constantly learning. They're constantly growing. So I wouldn't say that teenage is essentially a bad phase, or I wouldn't vilify teenagers like most of like you would find on most YouTube channels or on websites that you read. Teenage is surely a very difficult period. It's a difficult period for both the parent and the teenager itself. But then there are some things that the parent can keep in mind in order to establish a bridge of connection between themselves and the teenager. So in this video, I will be presenting to you 5 tips or 5 points that you can kind of use when you are finding it hard to deal with your teenagers. But you must remember that these 5 points don't actually just work like this. I mean, they wouldn't. It's not so that you would start following them and then you would see the change in the matter of a few days. It would take weeks, sometimes even months, for your teenager to open up and kind of respond to you in the way that you want them to respond to you. So here are the 5 tips. Tip number 1: respect your child. This is a very important tip and something that most parents don't actually follow. When you are a parent of a teenager, you feel that there are a lot of things that a teenager has to learn, has to pick up. In the parent's mind, it's often like, yeah, this is a kid. A teenager is a kid. He doesn't understand, or they don't understand the world. They have no knowledge of how the world functions, of how the life has to be, and so forth. So you think that the teenager is a kid, and you're right. The teenager does not know anything about the world. But you can't just rub it in their face each and every day. You can't expect to be telling them again and again that, hey, you're just a kid, you don't know anything. They wouldn't respond to it. And that is where respecting your child is very important, because in the child's mind, in the teenager's mind, they're like, yeah, I know the world. I know how the world functions. I know how things work. I know I can take care of myself. And I have an idea of what is more important to me and what is not important to me. Obviously, they have none of this understanding that they claim they have, but that is what the mind tells them. The mind tells them that, hey, you are big, you are grown enough, you're mature, and you can just go out into the world and do whatever you like, which is not true. But because they think like it, you must respect what they're thinking. It's not, they're not thinking like that in order to put you off, or in order to kind of, um, because they have a bad intention. No, they're doing it because that is how their brain responds at this particular age. They actually do not know what is right, what is more important, what is not important, and how to deal with different situations in life. But it's an illusion that they think that, yeah, I know it. And that's why, in the conversations that you have with your teenagers, often they would say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. So it's really very important for you to accept their opinion. If they say something about if they share an opinion about something, don't just impose your own opinion, which might be right in some cases, but you shouldn't impose your opinion on your child, because you want to give them the feeling, or you want to give them the impression that yes, they have an opinion, and you respect it as a parent. You give them that equal footing. They want respect from you at this age. They want to be treated fairly. They want to be treated like an adult. You might not like it, but you have to do it. And it just gets very easy if you start treating them like adults, if you start respecting them. You obviously shouldn't tell them that, okay, if an adult has to perform a particular task, you shouldn't give that to your teenager, because they wouldn't be able to perform it. But you can show it to them. And it is very important for you to respect and value their opinion, because when you start doing it, you'd realize that they would start paying more attention to what you are saying, because they know that you are paying more attention to what they are saying. Okay? And it could be so that their opinion on a particular thing, for instance, they say premarital sex is alright, and you'd say no, it's not good. I mean, in your family, you would say that premarital sex is not allowed, and they say that premarital sex is okay. In that case, you shouldn't shut them up and say, no, you're wrong, you don't understand. You have to understand the moral values that you are growing up with. No, you shouldn't shut them down or something like that. Just accept what they're saying. You can later guide them that, hey, this is why we follow this particular principle. This is how we have grown up. This is what our parents taught us. So it is very important that we follow it. You can explain why you follow a particular thing to them later. But when they're expressing their opinion, just listen to it. Listen to them. Let them speak and share their heart out with you. The second point is giving them space. And that is, again, a very crucial point, which a lot of parents actually miss out on. What you need to understand is that while your teenager is growing, they are being exposed to, sides, or they're being exposed to thoughts that they had no idea where they come from, to, developments and changes in the body which they have no idea why they're happening. Obviously, now with the availability of so many resources, they can Google things, probably they can talk to their friends about it. So now that they have the resources, they can probably understand why what is happening to their body or to their mind. But they still are being exposed, to the various changes in their mind and their body, and they want to explore their changes, right? Now, if you were to undergo a period of significant change, you want to be able to explore that change. You want to be able, you want to be in a position where you kind of embrace that particular change, right? So they're in a position where they're being exposed to constant change, and they want to explore it. They want to explore different parts of the body and how they respond to different emotions. So if you don't give them that space, they would feel that you are trying to invade into something that they have a right on. So personal privacy is something that they think they have a right on, and they are right in that. They obviously have the right to personal privacy. Each one of us has. But then at that age, they feel that they have this righteous claim on that person's privacy, even though what they might be doing with that privacy or during the time that they are with themselves is questionable. But because they have that thing in their mind, they want it. And so it's in your best interest. It's in the best interest of your child that you give them that space. That okay, you want to be in that room for half an hour or something. You're doing something. Let them do it. You don't have to always go barging into their room and say, okay, what's up? What are you up to? What have you been watching on the internet? What sites have you been exploring, or what have you been writing? What kind of people have you been meeting with? You must have an eye on those things. You must know that you must be aware of the kind of sites that your child is visiting. You must be aware of the kind of people that your child is meeting with. But your child does not have to know that you are aware of it, right? And when you start giving them that space, which they think they have a righteous claim on, they feel, okay, well, I'm being given that respect and that space which I deserve at this age. So, they kind of feel more happy. They feel that you are being respectful towards the boundaries that they have set. Obviously, you should know their mind. You should be aware of what's going on in their mind, but at the same time, you should be giving them that space as well. Third point is scold less. Now, I know that it's something parents, especially of teenagers, like to do. That they just like to go out and scold their children. They like to tell them that this is not right and this is not and this is wrong. And they love scolding because they feel that the more they shout, the more they scold, the teenagers would listen to them, which is actually not true. At this age, you might realize that scolding will do more damage to your child than it would help create that bridge between you and them. So I would say that you should scold really very less. Instead of that, try to establish a communication bridge and try that you have a solid flow of conversation between you and the child, where you speak and the child speaks. You can guide them, be their guide, be their counselor, be their mentor, but you don't have to necessarily always scold them on the things that they are doing wrong, especially when they're doing it wrong. If they have an opinion, like earlier I shared the example of premarital sex. If they have an opinion about something, don't just scold them because they have an opinion. Accept it, and then later you can guide them and you can tell them that, hey, this is why I think that this is wrong. You can explain your side of things. Now, it might sound ludicrous to some parents that, wow, I need to explain to my child why this is right and that is wrong. But then that is true. You do need to explain to your child why you follow some things and why you don't follow some things, why in your opinion something is right and something is wrong, because your child is growing. Your child is not as aware as you are. So you need to guide them, but not scold them. Fourth point is relatively very simple: become their friend. Now, again, I would say that most parents would. I know that most parents would say, "I can't become that guy's friend. He's so closed up." Or, "My daughter doesn't share anything with me. How can I be her friend?" Well, I'll make a separate video about becoming a friend with your teenager. But I think it's more important for you to realize that, just to be able to have a solid conversation with your child, where they're free to express their opinion, means that you are establishing a friendship with them. You don't have to be their friend. You don't have to call them. They don't have to call you by your name, or they don't have to treat you like a friend or like their equal. But they should know that when they want it, they can express what they're feeling with you. It would only happen like once in a blue moon that they come to you and say that I want to share something with you, and then they start sharing it. Because at this age, it's very rare that kids actually come up to their parents and say, I want to share this with you. But you can find a way around it. Just have a conversation with your child, Just ask them their opinion on something. You watched a movie, ask them their opinion. Challenge their opinions. Okay, this is what you think. Why do you think like this? Or what do you think? You don't have to be like, okay, why do you think like this? This is not how you're supposed to think. No, you don't have to scold them. You just need to ask like a friend. Okay, you like that particular song that has a lot of cuss words. Why do you like it? I mean, what's so funny about it? Or what's so interesting about that song, which this particular song, which has no cuss words, has? So you can ask their opinions. You can, and you can let them. You should let them share their opinion. You should let them talk about what they think about particular things. That will actually help you establish that or sow that seed of friendship between you and them, so that if they ever happen to be in a problem later on, they can actually come up to you and say it without worrying what you might think. Fifth point is very important, and I'd say that a lot of people miss out on it. You should show them and you should tell them that you love them. It's very important. Now, okay, at this age, teenagers are looking for love. They're looking for affection. Why? Because they're going through so many changes in the body. They're experiencing new things. They're being exposed to different emotions, different developments in the body. They sometimes feel that something is actually wrong with them. They might actually blame themselves, or they might blame you, or they might blame anyone else. That these changes in my body are because of that person, or are they because of me, because of who I am. I'm just a kid, who's very lonely, who has no one to talk to. All of these, crazy thoughts would actually be coming in their heads. And at that time, it is very important for you to love them, or at least for you to tell them that you love them, And mostly teenagers, I would say 90% of the teenagers wouldn't actually just go all out and say, "Oh wow, mommy, you love me. Wow, thank you so much. I feel so good that you love me." And you don't have to go out and hug them all the time, or kiss them on the cheeks just because you love them. But you can do the things that they like. You can surprise them. You can, perhaps on a particular day they wanted to order, or that they like pizza, right? And they are feeling a bit low. You can order a pizza for them, or you can order, something that they like, and you can tell them, and that, hey, it's for you. You can surprise them with it, and you can then you can tell them that, yeah, I love you, and I know that you were feeling really low throughout the day. So I thought, let me make your day. And you make their day. You give them pizza, or you give them that one little thing that they like. It doesn't have to be like this always. You don't always have to order a pizza, or order the mobile phone or something like that. But you can do these small things that that make them feel happy, that make them feel loved, that make them feel secured in their inside the boundaries of your home. And then slowly, when you start showing these emotions, when you start caring for them, and when they actually know that my parent, my dad, my mom is actually looking out for me, when they consciously know it, they subconsciously know that you are there for them. But when they consciously understand it, then there will come a point where they will start sharing things with you, and that is something that we are all striving for, isn't it? So that's it. That these are all the 5 points. And to conclude, I would just say that you should focus on giving your teenagers that space that they think they deserve, and constantly show your love to them, so that they feel loved, they feel secure inside their home. And that's it for today's video. I will see you tomorrow with another one. Thanks, and